morning, Australia. Welcome back to Radio Toni. This is Everyday Business, and I'm your host, Toni Lontis. For those of you listening live online, remember that in the live comments, we can send you links and messages regarding anything that we talk to you about on the show today. You can catch all the shows on replay on Binge TV USA and on the Toni TV channel on all LG, Roku, and Samsung smart TVs across the world. Today's guest is the wonderful Vicki Saunders from SheEO. But before I introduce you to this amazing woman, here's what you need to know. Vicki Saunders is an entrepreneur, award-winning mentor, author, advisor to the next generation of change makers, leading advocate for entrepreneurship as a way of creating positive transformation in the world. Vicki is the founder of #Radical Generosity and SheEO, a global community of radically generous women supporting women-led ventures working on the world's to-do list. Vicki has received numerous awards for her work at SheEO, including UBS Global Visionary 2020, YWCA Woman of Distinction Award in 2020, Business Leader of the Year 2019 by the Toronto Regional Board of Trade, 2018 Startup Canada Entrepreneurship Promotion Award, and was selected as a global leader for tomorrow by the World Economic Forum in 2001. Hello, Vicki, and welcome to the show.
Hi there. Happy to be here.
Vicki, I thought today that I'd like to start by telling the audience a little bit about you and your story. Are you happy to share that with the listeners today?
Sure. Shall I just jump right in?
Absolutely. Please tell me about Vicki and how you got to be the leader of this amazing community called SheEO.
Well, I'm not a millennial. So I'm a little bit older, so I've got a long journey. I'll just encapsulate it pretty quickly. But so I grew up in a very entrepreneurial family, and it's probably worth noting that when I was younger, being an entrepreneur wasn't a thing people talked about. Like, it wasn't a cool thing to do. In fact, like, entrepreneurs were people who couldn't get jobs. Right? Like, that's kind of how we thought about it. It wasn't like this hip thing that everyone's talking about these days.
Yeah.
Where everyone wants to like be their own boss and do this stuff. So back then it wasn't a thing. And so I didn't really think about being an entrepreneur. It wasn't, it was like, go get a job, go work at some organization, and do what you actually want to do on the weekends. But I wasn't wired that way. I was really, so I looked around me and I'm like, what kind of job could I get? Like, what would I want to spend my days doing and my life doing? And I grew up around a lot of teachers and farmers. And so I didn't want to be either of those. I was like, no, thank you very much. And so then I kind of looked out in the world and I couldn't see what I wanted to be. And so I tried a lot of things. I had this incredible mentor who said to me when I was quite young, because I said, I'm so interested in so many different things. And they're just like, make a long list and then try things and just strike off the list. So that's what I did. I did a lot of experimenting. I thought I would be an academic for a while. And then I had this sort of breakthrough moment that led to the sort of where the rest of my life followed after that, which was I was in Europe at the time when the wall fell down, the Berlin Wall. And it really transformed everything for me. I kind of was like, this is the future. What is this going to look like? And it was such a moment in history that I got on a train and I immediately went over to Eastern Europe and I ended up staying for 4.5 years. And that's where I became an entrepreneur. Every person was dreaming in the country about what they were going to do now that they were free. So, one day there's a tank in your country and you're not free. Right. And people were doing all kinds of jobs they didn't want to do because they were just like put into different jobs. And then the tanks drive away and everybody starts to dream. So I found myself in this community where everybody was dreaming. Now that I'm free, I'm going to do this. Now that I'm free, I'm going to do that. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm free too. What am I going to do? And it really transformed everything for me. So I started a business over there, and
Yeah.
then I started another business, and then I got all my friends to start businesses, and I was a real catalyst for change. One of the things that I was asked this question, why are you doing this here instead of in
Yes.
your own country, being this catalyst for entrepreneurship, essentially? And it's really been a question I've thought about ever since. Like, how do you create the conditions like I
Uh-huh.
experienced in Prague, where anything was possible and people woke up to being free? How do you create
Mm,
those conditions in environments where we're already supposed to be free, but we don't really feel like it?
yeah.
That's kind of been an organizing question of my life. I've become a student of designing environments, designing experiences for people to unlock the gifts they have inside them so they can contribute those to the world and feel like they're creating transformation. So I'm obsessed with that, have been for almost 30 years. And
Yeah.
SheEO is sort of like one of the many experiments along the way.
So SheEO was kind of an experiment in replicating that time and place in Prague where people were creatively thinking differently from what they had in the past.
Well, it's a culmination of I did a lot of things in between coming back from Prague to Canada. And then I,
Mm-hmm.
was an entrepreneur in the US as well, in Silicon Valley. Took a company public. I did a lot of things along the way, but yes,
Yes.
I would say that the sort of thread, the longer sort of thing through my life has been this, how do you create the conditions for people to innovate? How do you create the conditions for people to step out of all the limited thinking that they've been conditioned with? How do you create the conditions for people to question the way things are done,
Yeah.
so that we can invent what we desperately need, which is a whole new economic model, a whole new way of being together in society, so that we don't go extinct. So I'm the container that I use for that thinking is business.
Yes.
I feel like it can have such a huge impact when you're running your own business your way, and experimenting with ways that you want to create culture in your organization, to create awesome
Mm-hmm.
workplaces, new models, new mindsets, and new solutions to create a better world. So I'm really forever I've been, how do you do good and make money at the same time? And we
Yes.
live in a really sort of bifurcated world where we're like, go make money and then give it away.
Yeah.
And that does not satisfy my inner coherent
Absolutely.
soul. I want to bring my full self to everything. I don't want to have to like leave half of myself till later in my life. No, thank you very much.
Absolutely.
So yeah, SheEO, I mean, also came from a place of being a lifelong entrepreneur, existing in a world not designed by me or for me.
Yes. As a woman,
And
Vicky?
watching, yeah, painful, yeah, pretty hard. Yeah, so all the systems and structures are not really set up for us. I mean, if they
No.
were, we would have figured out childcare a long time ago, my friends. This is not a hard thing
Absolutely.
to solve. It's just the people at the
Absolutely.
table don't really have this issue often, and so they just don't think about it, and they think it might be hard to solve, or why would I solve that? Is that a critical thing?
Yeah.
So we're getting into that now, but yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. When you had the spark of an idea for SheEO, how different is that spark of an idea to the community and organization you've created today?
Well, I think one of the most beautiful things about entrepreneuring or being an artist, or when you have a dream inside of you, whatever that is,
Mm-hmm.
and you have this rational thought about, if I do this, then this will happen, and that sounds like everybody would want that, wouldn't they? Let's put that
Uh-huh.
out there. And so, I mean, this is what most dreamers or doers or entrepreneurs would
Yeah.
do. But the one thing we know for sure is whatever is in your side your head and in your approach, when it gets mixed with the world and people and all
Oh,
the
yes.
things, it changes. Right.
Yeah.
So that's really special. So, I mean, I had for sure a pretty clear vision of what was
Yes.
possible with SheEO, the how to make it happen, whole other thing. What made rational sense to me didn't to lots of people. So it's like you have to get good at influencing people and selling and sharing and,
Yes.
inspiring people to do things differently. But yeah, I think it's pretty close to what I thought it would be. It's been harder to get people to do things differently. I mean, I think I've spent
Yes.
most of my life in the behavior change space.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Like, how do you shift mindsets? How do we, like, it's very hard to get someone to do something differently when they have a whole bunch of experience of this is the way it's done.
Yes.
Right. And if you're like, so for example, in the world right now, about 2% of capital goes to 51% of the population. So first of all, you just stop and go, that is impossible statistically without
It
lots of
is.
barriers built into systems, right? So that's the starting point. It's not like women are doing something wrong. It's not like we have to teach women to pitch like men. It doesn't work. All those things don't work. So you have to go, if you actually, no, not at all. So if you want to get capital into that 51% of the population, you have to step into the shoes of those women, which I have been shoulder to shoulder in the trenches for decades with lots of women. I understand us. I understand me. You know, and so market research got that. And then it's really, how would it, if you could start over again, how would you like things to be designed to work for you? And so ecosystems are the way to go. Like, we want to design an ecosystem where we have all the kinds of supports around us that allow us to bring our full selves forward. And I think business has been set up as this, like, remove the human from yourself. I'm not sure how we do that. And just like, suck it up. Don't have any emotions here. And like, let's just go into this thing and like, it's some rational thing dealing with people, which it isn't. And so everything's kind of designed from the rational lens. It's just like, well, just give people incentives and then they'll act a certain way. And I'm like, I personally am not a coin operated person.
No.
I know lots of people who are, but I'm not. So you can't just go to me, I'll pay you more if you do this. And I'm like, yeah, but that doesn't feel right. And it doesn't feel right for me. So I don't want to do it. And they're like, but I'm paying you.
No.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It still doesn't work for me. And so I obviously understand that there's a bit of privilege involved with like being able to say no to the way things are. But given what we're noticing in the world right now, a lot more of us need to start saying no to the way things are done when it really is hurting ourselves, the planet, more inequality. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So SheEO is my, like, step back. If you were starting again, how would you do it? And so maybe I'll just share quickly for those who don't know, like, what this looks like. Yeah. So essentially, it started with this shared project for a community of women to contribute a little bit of capital each, $92 a month, come into this community together. We gift our capital and then we invite women in who are working on what we call the world's to-do list, critical priorities we're facing on the planet, centered around the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. So improving our health, improving our environment, improving our infrastructure, etc. So who's got cool ideas? Bring them, apply. Super simple to apply, 10 questions. And then all of us who contribute a bit of capital, we call you an activator, because you're activating your capital, but also your networks and your expertise and your buying power. We all come online and we select. We go through and we're like, should this exist in the world? Does this make sense? Is this what we need in my country right now? Yes. Check. And we select those ventures. And so we do this collectively, hundreds of women in each country. And then we get behind these amazing ideas that we fund and we support them. And so we ask, what do you need? Can I open doors for you? Can I become a customer? All the things. And it really is such a simple idea. All of us have a little bit of something to contribute, no matter what. You know, mine is connections. Yours is amplifying the people's stories. Right?
Absolutely.
Podcasts with would totally help people discover them and therefore become their customers or help them. And everybody, if we just add our little bit, we feel like we're part of the success of those companies, but we're now in relationship with them and understand a little bit more why they're doing what they're doing. And that to me is like the best way to be in, like, being in relationship helps us to understand each other. And we're not really set up to be in relationship now because our companies have gotten so huge and so few of them really at the top of the heap. That we're all out of relationship and we're separated and we're isolated and we're living in scarcity thinking we don't have enough. And like the difference between the isolated way that we're organized right now and a community-based way is night and day. So as an entrepreneur walking into this community, all of a sudden there are hundreds of women who are like, how can I help? That's an overwhelmingly beautiful experience.
I was just going to say,
we call it radical generosity. Yeah, it's huge.
Vicki, the most beautiful thing about being involved in SheEO, and just for the listeners, I'm both an activator and a venture. The most beautiful thing as a woman walking into the SheEO community is the love, help, and support that you immediately feel. It's less transactional and more from that beautiful space of giving and receiving. That leads me to what's happening in Australia currently and what I'm involved with the Australian SheEO community. Is we're in year 3 venture voting and funding rounds. So Vicki, for the listeners who don't understand these concepts, can you simply just tell us how this works from your perspective? I can tell people how it works from my perspective. It's wonderfully simple and easy, but I'd love to know from your perspective.
Yeah, I mean, it's wonderfully simple and easy from my perspective too.
Yay!
I mean, here's one of the things: the way that we make decisions on who gets money in the world right now is very control oriented, exclusive, small group of people who are considered to be quote unquote experts, who do a whole bunch of research and due diligence to see, is this going to work? Is this a trend? Is there a big enough market? All the things. And then they decide if money should go there. This way that we do things is inefficient and ineffective.
Absolutely.
About 9 out of 10 venture funds, entrepreneurs that they fund, fail. And it's very much like, here's money. Oh, it's huge. Yeah, it's huge. The failure rate in venture capital is massive.
I didn't realize.
Also, the failure rate in business, in general business, is extremely high as well, because we have this way of like, you have to go do this all on your own, Toni. Like, here's the money.
I know it.
Go get me a huge return and
buy.
I
know it. Yes.
So what we do is a very simple thing. Like, anybody can participate in this. We have activators that are ages 11 right through to 96, and you don't need to have a business background. It's really fun. So you come in and you read these applications, which are 10 questions, and it's really like, who are you? Why are you doing what you're doing? Why are you the person to be doing this? How do you make money? Like, no jargon, really simple. Yes. And you're like, what a great idea. What a great idea. Oh my God, there's another great idea. Like, just super simple things that are all around you. And then we just, yes, I love this venture, have them go to the next round. We have 2 rounds of voting that go on where we make selection.
I want to say yes. I'm reading them at the moment and I'm like, oh, that's good. Oh, that's good. And I'm like, yes, yes, yes. It's actually hard to say no, because you read these applications and these women have the best ideas and the most life-changing things, and you're reading and going, oh, wow, why hasn't someone thought of that before? Oh, isn't that an amazing idea? And they're women-led, women-founded, and they're so creative, aren't they, Vicki?
Yeah, I think there's just so many. So we have Yaz from the world's biggest garage sale, who's taking all of our, like furniture that we have in our, and that's going to the landfill, and repurposes it, makes it super funky, designs it up, and then sells it again, like full circular economy. Yes. We have Christina from Grow Your Mind, who's all about like mental wellness for children and all kinds of ways for them to have emotional intelligence and work through that. Every one of our ventures is doing, like, we have Invorinex from Tasmania, and she has small factories, really interesting thing. And she recycles 50% of the industrial waste in Tasmania in her small factory. She's just expanded to Queensland, and that became possible because of some of the activators saw what she was doing, thought it was so cool, started talking to their local government. The local government reached out, and boom, she's got a factory in Queensland now. And just got a $2 million grant from the government to set that up. So all kinds of like environmental, education, wellness related, just everything you can imagine coming through. And all of these ideas, this is one of the things that's so astonishing. All of these ideas and these businesses exist in your community. You just don't see them. They're under the radar in every country we're in. We're in 5 countries right now. Every year, everyone's like, that doesn't exist. How come that doesn't exist? Wow, that's a brilliant idea. We need more. And we're so astonished when we read through these things, what's out there. And we get our capital to them. They're really the temporary custodians of this capital. They get a 0% interest loan. And then they pay that loan back so it can go to the next one. So all this money is kept going inflow to the highest priorities of the community as decided by the community. And all of us have the skills. I mean, everybody buys something, right? We go shopping. That is voting. You're deciding what your economy looks like when you buy from a certain company. Yeah. The thing that we're missing in the world is we don't really know how that company is doing business in the world right now. We don't really know, do they pay people well? I mean, you have to do a lot of research to figure out that for every product that you're buying. And so the thing that's cool about SheEO is you get to see, who is this leader? How are they leading? What does their company look like? Do they treat people well? What is their business model? Do they have flex work? All those things are built in, and they have a wicked product that we want to, that doesn't do any harm and isn't extractive.
Yeah.
So part of the idea here is, as we scale this up, we start to have better and better like companies that are led by what the population actually looks like, broad cross-section of leaders, leading in many different ways, working on lots of different issues that are being really, really good at corporate citizens and taking care of the earth and people while they're operating their business.
Absolutely. Vicki, the part of the concept of SheEO is that activation. Can we just quickly run through why activation, how it works, and how simple it is for women to participate?
Yeah. So again, during COVID, it's been fascinating. You haven't been quite as locked down as we have in Canada. Lucky
oh,
you. But
Vicki, we're just about to do that, I fear.
You're just about to. Yeah. So we'll see what happens there.
Yes.
But one of the things that's happened during this time is, we have this old model of like, you have to go do everything on your own. And one of the things, being in community, especially in times of crisis, is extremely helpful. So activators come into this community, as you said, one of the first questions you get asked is, how can I help you? What do you need, Toni? Is there anything I can do for you? And we get into relationship and we practice giving and receiving with each other. So it's as simple as going to our website, put in your credit card, $92 a month, and you're in this community. And you have access to all the resources within this community.
So they're amazing resources.
Yeah. I mean, we have weekly calls, so you get to meet other women and non-binary folk in your community, but also around the world. If you have a business that is going to export to other countries, you can find those people to help you to become distributors, to figure out how to do relationships across borders. We have weekly calls that you can meet people on. We have the voting that you mentioned, where you get to select the kinds of ventures that get selected locally. And if you have a skill to contribute that business needs, you're more than welcome to give it. You'll sort of get prompted with our Ask Give process for that. And then we have all kinds of other learning circles going on at the moment. We're doing Rooted in Your Wellness, led by some Aboriginal and Indigenous folk. We've done racial justice working groups. Like, there's all kinds of things going on all the time for learning to help us sort of decolonize ourselves, to decondition ourselves from the way things have been, in order to actually see how we're upholding systems that are not working for the benefit of all.
Yes.
Because it's very important that we actually decondition that stuff out of ourselves so that we can figure out how to create a better world.
Yeah.
If we just do more of the same, we're going to get more of the same.
Yeah, absolutely. In talking to as many women as I talk to, it always frustrates me still to this day that many women are suffering from that, I guess, for want of a better word, that patriarchy that sits behind everything we do. That who are you to do that? Or in terms of middle-aged women in particular, Vicki, that whole you're not seen and you're not heard. You seem to lose your right to exist in the world as you enter your middle ages. You become invisible. That needs to change, because women in their midlife have a wealth of experience, knowledge, and wisdom, and they can share that with the younger generations. One of the ventures you mentioned before, talking about children, imagine the world we could create if we instilled in children emotional intelligence, thoughts about equality and how you treat each other, and we instilled that in them from a very young age. We would change humanity within a generation, wouldn't we, Vicki?
We would. Yeah. And I think this is one of the things here. We've been sort of sold this lie that there's one way of leading, one way of being a leader. You have to fit into the existing structures. And we've just said, no, thank you. We're not interested in leveling any playing field. We're going to go create a whole new one. So we basically, this game is over. Goodbye. Let's go create a new one. And so it really is amazing when you're, whatever kind of business you want to get into, there is someone in your community in Australia who knows somebody who can help you. If it's
That's
not
right.
me, it's going to be somebody else. And so to get around some of these barriers, and to figure out how to get invited in to a room, to get customers before you would normally be. We're all here to use our power with one another, not over one another.
Yes,
It's all about power here.
absolutely. It's a very equal playing field within SheEO, which leads me to the other concept that I'd love to explore just briefly, Vicki, and that's the ask-give concept. And as women, it's often really hard to ask. We are givers and we do that naturally, and often we don't ask. So I wanted to get you to tell the audience about the concept of asking and giving, because it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, this has been a really interesting one. And so, first of all, there's a reason why we don't ask, because we've been conditioned not to ask.
Yeah.
Right? You're last. We're always last.
Yes.
Right? People, like, men will just walk right into the room and take whatever they want, what they need, and
True.
not consider it, or they'll go ask for what they want. I deserve this. Whereas we're like, really? You think you deserve that? Like,
yeah.
And so, there's also that thing. So we are conditioned to not ask. So we have to get over that.
And that's
so
hard,
really
isn't it,
hard,
Vicki?
It's very hard to do that. Yeah. Unless you change the conditions in that environment. So we know it's tough to do this. It's like a new muscle. It's a new muscle to build.
Yes.
So on every single call, we go into breakout rooms. And I mean, an ask can be this: I don't know what to ask. That's an ask.
Yeah.
Right? You can just, you don't have to come in with some big, oh my God.
That was my first one. That was my very first. I don't know how to ask. Teach me how to ask.
Yes. Well, so we're just about to do these calls. You'll be happy to hear this, Toni. We're going to start doing the I'm stuck calls. Like, I don't even know what I don't know.
Yeah.
And help and go into breakout rooms and help each other figure out. Because, if you start telling a little bit of story about what's going on for you, people can go, oh yeah, I went through that. Actually, what was most helpful is this. Would that be something you'd like? Yes, I'd love that. But if you've never gone through it before, you don't even know what to ask.
Yeah.
So we create the conditions in a very loving and safe environment for you to just be messy. It's cool to be messy here. No problem. No guilt. No shame.
Yes.
And help each other figure stuff out. And then, when you get clear on your ask, you can come in to the main room and go, hey, does anyone know someone who can ... Does anyone know how to deal with this kind of a situation? And then you can go do a sidebar with somebody and get the support you need. Game changer. Because otherwise you sit there in this messy pool of, I should know how to do this, and I don't know how to do this, and I don't know where to ask, and nobody can help me. And I'm always like, oh, and then we turn into a mess about all that stuff. It doesn't have to be that hard.
Yeah.
It doesn't. It can be really fun, actually.
Yeah.
And so we've made this real core element of ours, because we have to shift ourselves from this place of feeling like we are in scarcity. Nobody cares about me. Nobody gets me. Nobody understands me, to this place of, we love you, Toni. What do you need today? Right? Like, we're here for you. And that makes life a lot easier.
Vicki, even you saying that to me right here, right now, I still get that beating in my heart, like, that feeling. And I know that it's like that for lots and lots of women. It's really hard to ask for something and to receive it. So that's actually my key challenge at the moment, is around ask give, because I'll give, any SheEO women that I talk to, I'm like, come on my show, let me interview you, let me put you in front of my global audience. That's so easy. But for me to then go back, hey, I need this, this, and this, I still find it so hard, Vicki. And I'm guessing that's our conditioning. We're told that we're not worthy of asking for anything. And it's a tough mind shift to move. But I can tell you that within the SheEO community, it becomes easier.
Yeah. And I think, any new habit is hard to get on board. Right. And so this is just one of those things where, as soon as you even just know that that's a thing for you, it gets easier. Right. You're like, oh, okay, awareness is number one. And then it's just a bit of a practice. And again, super, super hard to do this in an unsafe environment. right? If you
Definitely.
like, we have been treated. It actually didn't really strike me because I mean, I've been an entrepreneur forever and ever, so
Yeah.
I'm kind of used to having this because I don't have 7 layers of people around me to help me necessarily. I didn't in
Yeah.
the past.
Yeah.
When we went to do this, when we first figured this out, I walked into a room and I said, "How many people would help someone in the room if they asked you right now?" And like all hands go up. Sure,
Uh-huh.
of course, why not? And then how many people like asking for help? Like
No.
no hands go up. 2 or 3. And so then we practiced this and it went really well. And it was in a room full of like people that were quite entrepreneurial and would step into it. And I was telling a friend of mine at her workplace, and she said, "That sounds amazing. You should come and do that at my company." A big, huge
Yes.
corporation.
Uh-huh.
And so I went, and we went into the room, and I'm like, "And the CEO's here. Isn't this amazing? We've got like 500 people in the room. This
Mhm.
is fantastic. Let's practice Ask Give." Crickets. Nobody said anything. Nobody would put up their hand. And I
Oh,
realized,
wow.
oh, the boss is here. The boss's boss is here. Like, I'm not putting up my hand. I don't want anyone to know that I don't know. And so that really struck me. You can tell a lot about the corporate culture
Yes.
or the culture of an environment if
Yes.
people don't even feel like they can ask for help.
Yeah.
And that also sort of speaks to the sort of sickness in our world right now, that
Definitely,
we have
Vicki.
all these people sitting here wanting to contribute something to have their more meaning in their life and to be more connected, and nobody asking because we're
Yeah.
conditioned not to.
Yeah.
And if you keep us separate, then we're never going to rebel and create a new world. But if we all get together in relationship, we're going to realize we have similar experiences. No, nothing's working for any of us. Like
Yeah.
this world isn't working for men or women. I mean, we
No.
are like, it's crazy what we've designed here, where
Yeah.
you're just on 24/7. We need to change things.
We
And
do.
you can't change it by yourself. It's so hard. So
Mm.
if you come into community, look around us and see how we can use our influence to create a better world and to create change. That's what we're here to do at SheEO. And we're doing that
Definitely.
through our shared project of funding these entrepreneurs, but we're also doing it with each other. How can
Yeah.
we help each other create change in our environments?
Yeah. Yeah.
So come and activate. It's really fun. You're all
It
welcome to
is.
join us. We invite you to come. We have
Absolutely.
global activation calls where you can come learn more if you want to.
Those weekly calls that we have in Australia that Vicki, that Julie Trell and Maureen Ware, that they are just, they fill my soul with something I can't quite put a finger on, but it's just a beautiful environment for women to get together, and knowing that we're all women, that we're not competing with each other, that we're all going through similar things is hugely helpful when you are a solopreneur, like many of us are. Many of us don't have big teams of people around us, and you are generally doing things by yourself, but you come into those calls and you listen and learn and get help and support. It's a really beautiful thing, Vicki. I'm curious, when you started SheEO, did you have to approach lots of women to start SheEO? Were you reliant on any men? Was it all women based? Like, obviously it's female founded.
Yeah, it's all women all day long.
All women.
So
Yay.
yeah, so all women are activators, and of course we're funding women-led ventures and non-binary now.
Yes.
And but men can help.
Oh
They can
yeah.
be part of this. Like, they have a role which is encourage the women in their world to apply if they have a business, because we'd love to support them. And we all need a nudge to kind of go and apply for things like this.
Yes.
And then also, they can gift in activation for their wife, their daughter, someone they're mentoring in their community.
Of course.
They can amplify this model and share. We have tons and tons of male allies out there that are excited about what we're doing. So, but as it stands, the people in the community are women and non-binary.
Fantastic. Vicki, towards the end of this, I wanted to talk about your big vision for the future and what it looks like for SheEO, but more importantly, what that looks like for you, Vicki Saunders, because you've created this amazing community and organisation that helps women across the world. So I want to know what your biggest vision and desire is and what the future looks like for Vicki.
Yeah, so here, as as a healing myself, healing my life by doing this work in many ways.
Yes.
If I had, I sort of think back, if I have lots of big dreams. I am like a very bold thinker.
Yes.
It took me a long, 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 long time to build my confidence, to be fully me in the world, a long time. And I would like to live in a world where people don't have to wait that long.
Oh,
So
definitely.
one of the things that I didn't do is I didn't ask for help when I was younger. I got myself into all kinds of situations, whereas if I had had a circle of women around me who had my back, I would have gone farther faster.
Yeah.
And so for me, more of this community out in the world, more women giving themselves the gift of being an activator. It is truly a gift to pick yourself and say, I deserve to be surrounded by people who want to help me. I deserve that. Not in your head. Like, here's the thing. When I was younger, I would not have become an activator at the age that I see a lot of young ones coming in, because I thought I didn't feel worthy.
Yes, I know.
I thought, oh, I'm not good enough, or, oh, I couldn't be in a community with her. She's so amazing. Meanwhile, the person who's so amazing is dying to help you.
Yeah.
And you're like, so gift yourself the opportunity to be in something like this. And we've just really tried to make it as simple as possible for you to get in. It used to be $1,100 a year, one-time fee, which we heard, lots of feedback, it was too much. So getting to $92 a month, and you just get in there.
Absolutely.
And experience how much different it can be. So for me, the big vision is truly this kind of a community where we're radically generous to each other can dramatically change outcomes for all of us. We all have something to contribute, and we want to contribute to each other. So we have to get in relationship. We can't be in relationship with you if you don't get into the community.
That's right.
So we're well-resourced and full of love and radical generosity, and want to help. So I just like to see the community grow over time. So more and more people can witness that there are other ways to be successful. There are other pathways to success than this extremely painful, put your head down, close your eyes, and do it all yourself. Like, I just think that's such a lie that keeps us smaller than we could be.
It does.
And so, the thing for me is I have like the beginning of this dream. When you add your dream in here, Toni, and Maura adds her dream in, and Julie adds hers, and all of the people in each country start to add theirs, who knows what this is going to be? I'm just excited. I think when you have a huge diversity of people in a room, you have these leaps forward of progress when we all start to participate. And so I'm here for the joyride. I'm excited. Who knows what's next?
Fantastic. Vicki, the concept of providing a platform for women that not only empowers and supports them, but that provides funding is an amazing concept. And I know the first time that I was introduced to the whole concept, it actually took me a while to get my head around the whole idea. But then when I did, that has just grown and grown and grown. And I just always talking to women about SheEO and what a great community it is if you need support and help. And then they've got this funding side, and they do this. Do you think, so the countries that you're in at the moment are Australia, Canada, New Zealand, the UK, America. So where else is next?
We have a big, big, big long list of countries that have reached out and want this to be replicated. So one of the things that's happening, no matter what country you're in, just pick the closest time zone and activate. Don't wait till we come to your country. So we now have people in Singapore and Hong Kong and Indonesia starting to activate in Australia, because the time zone is good for them.
It's good.
And across Europe, they're joining in the UK. And so we'll see what happens. Just around COVID, we've got a bit of a slowdown for, expanding out. We'll see what happens there. But I anticipate that we'll be going to Asia Pacific, Africa, probably India, Latin America, like wherever this model really wants to go, where there are women locally who want this to happen, we will go. So,
and that's the thing, Vicki. There is enough abundance in the world. There is enough funding. There is enough money. There is enough love and support. We just need to make people aware that there is and join the community that is making that happen. I don't think there's anything quite equivalent to SheEO for guys, is there? I mean, they have access to funding that we don't even think about. They have access to all sorts of things that we don't even know about. But I don't think that they do things. Well, I know that they don't do things the way that women do, and that's the change that needs to happen.
Yeah, this is designed specifically for us, by us. And it's, I think this model obviously could be used for men too. The way that we think about our economy, the way that we think about resources is very limited in the current economic model. And so I think this community-based approach to like a collective capital approach is very much rooted in Indigenous cultures, and keeping the resources of the community flowing forward to the highest priorities of the community. This is an ancient idea. This is what the collective economy looked like thousands of years ago. And so we've just modernized it in this approach. But I do hope, as we start to see that every single activity we have in our financial systems creates more inequality, every mechanism we have is about more inequality. And so we have to actually think about redistributing, regenerating our capital for the highest and best use, so we have more equitable systems. I hope to see so much more experimentation in the next decade or so. And we're just out of the gate a little bit earlier. We've been around now for, we're 6 full years. We're going into our 7th year. So we've got lots to show for the results of something like this. The job creation's off the charts. Our revenue growth is more significant than like the peers who are not in systems like this. So model's working. Repayment rates are 95%.
That was one of my questions.
Yeah.
Okay. Are there any particular reasons why some of the ventures don't repay their loans? Are there, from your experience?
Yeah, I mean, the only thing is just their company doesn't make it. They had this idea, they got going, they got started, and that's the only thing. The failure rate is about 50% for businesses that are under 5 years old. And so, I mean, we have a very, very, very low failure rate, but still, it's a natural thing. It happens, right? Some stuff goes on, things go sideways, COVID occurs, like there's all kinds of things that come along that you could not have predicted.
No. Vicki, that perpetual fund that the activators' money goes into, how do you decide what country gets what amount? Is it based on, so Australia's activators, their money goes into this perpetual pool, and is that how it generally works? Like if we had more activators in Australia, then the pool would be bigger?
Exactly. Yeah. So no money, like Australian money stays in Australia. New Zealand stays in New Zealand. Canada. So the money doesn't cross borders. It stays in your local community. Yeah. And it would be bigger if there were more activators.
Yeah. And so that pool that the ventures apply for each year would then be bigger and therefore help more people, and the cycle goes around and around. And the fact that the money is replaced and paid back, it just keeps growing in perpetuity. What's your goal for the big perpetual fund? Do you have a big, hairy goal for that?
We started with one, but now it's like, it just doesn't matter. Like someone said to me, would you rather have $1 billion perpetual fund or 1 million women? And I said, 1 million women any day. 1 million women activated out there, sharing their resources and their expertise and their talents with one another will change the world.
Absolutely.
$1 billion isn't going to change.
So how many women do we have?
So we've had over 7,000 activations. We're on our way. And we keep sort of growing. We grew 30% last year. So the goal is to just keep talking to our friends about it, sharing the word, and we see where we go. Yeah.
Vicki, that's amazing. We are out of time, but quickly before I let you go, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me today. It's a real privilege to have you on Radio Toni Everyday Business. I'm a passionate supporter of SheEO. I love the women that we are surrounded with here, particularly on the Gold Coast in Queensland. The person that introduced me, of course, was Marianne Anderson, whom I just love, and who is just the best, most beautiful woman, one of the most beautiful women I know. And I can't say enough about the community that SheEO creates, the help and support, the ask give, the concept of allowing women-led enterprises to thrive in a community of support. Vicki Saunders, I'm really incredibly grateful that you had a spark of an idea that's led to a worldwide organisation that will indeed change the world on so many levels in so many countries. And it's a real privilege to have you on the show today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. And thank you for all you do to amplify the voices of incredible women out there.
It's just the most beautiful space to work in. If you had have told me years ago that my business would be fundamentally working and talking with women, I would have not believed you, but I wouldn't have it any other way, Vicki. There's something special about women.
Telling me to dance, taking a chance. Telling me to dance, taking a chance. Telling me to dance, taking a chance.